Thank you everyone who is joining us today in this dramatic day. As I'm sure you all know and follow the elections in Israel. The first result just came out 30 minutes ago. And luckily for me, my husband, Vered Guttman, that, if you read the Moment magazine, I'm sure you know him, he will be behind the scenes here and will try to update me at least, because I have to know what's going on throughout the class. But besides for that, we are all about Passover today. And I do want my son Shauli, who is behind the camera, to say hi. He's here for Passover, Shauli. And we're gonna start right away. So this class, we're not concentrating in the Seder meal. We're actually, part of it is, but we're all about everything around the preparation, symbolic food, like the many Charoset dishes that we're doing, the chrain, etc. And it's really nice to see how much history and how much symbolism there is in these simple dishes. So the charoset, you all know this is the sweet, dense dish, deep kind of dish that we serve on the Seder plate, and during the Seder, we serve it in different points on the Seder. And the first time that we hear about the Charoset is in the Mishnah, meaning the 1st to 3rd centuries AD. There's a quote there from a rabbi who was still living in the time of the temple, and he says that during the pilgrimage of the Jews to the temple in Jerusalem, before Passover, there were vendors walking around the streets around the temple and calling people to buy spices from them to prepare the charoset, for the mitzvah, he says, meaning for the charoset. We don't know what spices he was referring to, but we're going to use some spices that might have been it. Then we hear again about the charoset in the Talmud, in the Babylonian Talmud and in the Jerusalem Talmud. And the rabbis most of them are saying what most of you probably know, that the charoset is meant to remind us of the mortar that the Israelites were using in Egypt as they were, when they were still slaves, when they were building the pyramids. So it should remind us of the heavy burden of being slaves. There were at least one rabbi who said that this should remind, the charoset should remind us of the blood, actually, of the Paschal sacrifice, that the Israelite and the blood that the Israelites were using then to as the mezuzah to signal for God where their houses were, by spreading some of it on their door frame, which may explain one of the traditions of one of the Jewish communities, the Tunisian Jewish community. They keep some of the charoset from the Seder and use it the next morning to spread some of it on the door frame. I know it sounds messy, but it's interesting. I mean, they do that for good luck, and it's another tradition that we're going to learn about today. So let's start with the recipes. We're gonna do 3 charoset, one after the other, then charoset balls. So we're good to start. Okay, it's definitely easy when you're using a food processor. it's better to work this way. Now, so many of the ingredients throughout the Jewish diaspora, throughout the Jewish communities, ingredients that they were using for the charoset have special meanings, and I'm going to mention some of it as I cook. Dates, you're going to see actually in each and every one of the 4 charoset that I'm making today. And the reason for it, dates, figs, apple, definitely, and nuts are mentioned in the book of the Song of Songs. And the Jewish people are in different sentences in the Song of Songs are compared to these fruit and nuts. And that's why we include them here. So we're going to start with the Yemenite charoset, and starting with putting dates and toasted sesame seeds in the food processor, nuts too. Let me just start with these ingredients, and I'm going to chop them. Of course, sesame seeds are spreading all over my kitchen. Okay, what I want to get is the crumbs. Sholi, can you show this actually? Just these crumbs. At this point, I'm gonna add some freshly grated ginger. Oops. Just like that. Okay. Spices, we mentioned spices before. Now I'm adding cardamom, and I know that some people, like people who don't eat ligam, also do not eat cardamom. So I have cardamom, cinnamon, and cloves, ground clove, just a little bit because it's very strong. Okay. So let me mention the cardamom. So people who eat, who do not eat kitniot, who do not eat ligam during Passover, meaning Ashkenazi Jews, usually, they do not eat sesame seeds, and they will not eat cardamom. So, you know, it's up to you. If you're not eating, this charoset is not for you. The others, the other charoset are for non-ligam eaters. This
Vered,
yes?
real quickly, can you explain why some people don't eat some of those foods, the cardamom and the other seeds? What the meaning is with the kitniot?
Sure. Yes. Yes. So just a second. Okay. I'm sorry. Just a second. There's as you probably all know, we Jews do not eat flour or flour that bread that can rise, or flour that can rise, get wet and rises during Passover, because the Jews, the Israelites, when they left Egypt before they became Jews, they had to rush, and they had to take flatbread with them that did not rise. We repeat that over Passover. In the medieval times in Europe, the same meals, like wheat meals that were grinding wheat for meal, they were also the same places were using, were also grinding legumes, so beans of different types, etc. So the rabbis back then said, you know, just to prevent from any confusion, do not eat ligam. You don't know if the wheat was contaminated if the ligum was contaminated with the flour. Also, when the ligum and the flour both are grounded into flour, it's hard to tell them apart. At this point, it's easy for us to tell them apart because we have bags that say this is wheat and this is corn flour, or this is with Sephardi Jews, there was never any issue with the ligum. By the way, the ligum were not only the ligums themselves, also later sesame seeds were added, corn was added as well. And so Sephardi Jews, and rice as well. Rice is forbidden too, which makes the Ashkenazi diet during Passover, you know, very limited, and it's very hard, much easier to be a Sephardi Jew during Passover. That's why in my family, for example, which is half Polish, half Iraqi, half Ashkenazi, half Sephardi, we adopted the Sephardi minhag, the Sephardi tradition immediately. It's much easier. In 2015, the Rabbinical Assembly in the US, the Conservative Rabbinical Assembly, announced that they are allowing kitniot now. They're allowing for anyone who chooses to eat kitniot, to eat the ligum and rice and polenta and things that were forbidden until then. So it's really up to you. It's not like they're forcing you to do it now. And many people prefer to keep the tradition that they grew up with because it's all about the tradition, no? But just that you know, if you're a conservative Jew in the United States, it is officially allowed now to have to eat legumes. So we have that in here, and we're gonna add sweet wine. In this case, I chose Muscat wine. That's a white wine, and it's sweet. It's like a dessert wine. Not that I understand anything about it, but that's what I was told. Now, the reason I chose white wine, there's actually a reason for that too. So, Charoset, I'm talking so much today. I'm sorry about that, but we're still going to be able to make everything we promised. Charoset was actually created after a Roman Greek dish that was a dip that the Greeks and the Romans would serve in their feast, because like the whole Seder is supposed to be a feast where you recline and you drink and you're like fancy, and the Charoset was probably originally based on a dip that was served on those feasts, and it was usually sour. It was sweet but also sour. So people would use either red wine or vinegar, red vinegar, to make it wet, to make it into a paste, and to add the sourness flavor into it. But as you all probably know about the awful stories and that were spread in Europe, how the Jews were using the kids' blood for Passover, killing the kids, using their blood. And some rabbis said, do not use anything red in the Charoset because that's what is spreading these awful anti-Semitic rumors. So they forbade people, if that's a word, to use red wine or red wine vinegar. So I'm using white wine. I think not these days it's okay. So I'm gonna use some wine, just a little bit. And Shauli, can you show the bowl here, please? Now it's up to you what the consistency and what you want to have, but like this seemed to me not, it seems too chunky and not pasty enough. So I'm adding more of the wine. Let it run again. Okay, this looks much better. Okay, nice. Okay.
Vered, can you just say again
Yes.
what type of white wine you suggested?
You know, what you want to ask at your liquor store is for a dessert wine. And I'm using a white muscat. I don't know if muscat actually comes in other colorless than white, but this is a muscat wine that's white, and it's very tasty, and it is sweet. So you know, it is something that the kids are eating too during Passover. So you want to make sure it's not too, you know, that the flavor is not too strong.
And the nuts you used were walnuts?
Did I use walnuts here? Yes, yeah. You have the recipes. Right. The recipes, this was the first recipe. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but of course, like, you know, this is the traditional Yemenite recipe. But you can use other nuts if you're allergic or if you don't like walnuts. That of course is completely fine. I think the important thing is in here, and what makes it a little different is are the sesame seeds and the wine. Look, I also have here, this is our first charoset, and what I put there on top is dried rose flower, which you can get at most Middle Eastern stores. They use it as a spice, and it's really nice for decoration. So you can do that. Okay, let's move on to the next, to our next charoset, and the next one is Italian. Now, there is, I forgot where I read it, but Italians used to make, you know, later we're going to make Iraqi charoset in the shape of like truffles, little balls. And turns out like Italians used to shape the charoset into small balls. I remember where I read it. There's like during the Inquisition in Spain, the Jews were prosecuted according to, among other things, their food, because it was an easy way to know if they were still keeping their Judaism. If they were, you know, eating matza in the spring or making small balls of this sweet paste, then it means they're Jewish. So there's one evidence of one conversos who says how the Italian Jews used to shape the charoset into balls. So this one is an interesting one. It's Italian. We have chestnuts. I just use the chestnuts that are pre-cooked. You can get them in most stores in the kosher aisle for some reason. But at least during Passover, it makes sense. So you just add them here. And I have some of the same wine. It's Italian wine, so it makes sense. And let's just make this into a paste. Okay. Okay, we have a paste now, and to that I'm going to add, where is my knife? Wait a second. we're going to have to add some dates. You can chop them, just cut them in half, or, you know, we can just put them like that. Dates, figs, some raisins. Here's another interesting ingredient that we use here, poppy seeds, whole poppy seeds. If you have some leftovers from Purim, then that's perfect. And some two types of nuts. I have almonds here and walnuts. Now, the poppy seeds may seem a little unusual, but I have to say, some Italian recipes are asking for hard-boiled eggs. So, you know, relatively speaking, it's better and I think probably tastier to add the poppy seeds. By the way, I mentioned earlier that for most people, the charoset is supposed to remind us of the mortar. And Italians used to actually add some mortar, some actual dirt to the into the charoset until the rabbi said, enough, don't take us literally. So yes, again, poppy seed seem more natural. So as you saw, I grated the zest of the orange, and now I'm adding the juice of the orange. I'm not gonna add the whole orange. I think this is enough. And I'm gonna use a little bit of honey, although it's probably sweet enough, but you know, this is nice raw honey. Okay, let's see what's going on. Now, again, how much do you want it to be like a paste or more like a chopped grainy charoset is really up to you. So, you know, it depends on how long you're processing it with a food processor. It will be more like a paste. It depends on how much liquid, the wine and orange juice in this case, you added. Let's look at it again. It's too chunky. I'm gonna process it a little longer. Okay, when I see it, I don't know if you can see on the side of the ball, you can see it all rolling together into one ball, then you know that it's probably enough. I'm going to show you the what it looks like. Here we go.
Now, Vered, for people who don't want to use for people who don't want to use the white wine, is there a reason they can't use the red wine?
No, of course you can. You know, I don't think those stories about the Jews drinking blood of little kids. I hope we don't have those stories in the United States. Yes, please do. Use red wine. It actually gives a much nicer, not the flavor, but the looks is nicer when you do that. Here's another rose, and they look very similar to each other, but we can still tell the difference. Okay, we're going to move immediately to the next one. And our next charoset is a Persian one. I'm starting with walnuts, dates, all our regulars. Only the, you know, the quantities, the ratios between them are different. We have pistachios because, you know, no Persian dish is whole without pistachios, and some almonds. An apple. I think I mentioned earlier that there are symbolic, that, you know, many of the ingredients are symbolic in the charoset. An apple is definitely one of them, and you'll actually see apples in so many charoset recipes around the world. Apples are mentioned in many stories in the Bible, and the Jews are compared to it. But mainly, there's a story of how the Israelite women in Egypt, they went to the apple orchards and gave birth to boys. I assume girls too, but the point was to give the birth in the apple orchard to the boys, so the Egyptians will not know that they had a boy and will not take it or kill it. Or, so that's why an apple, that's one of the reasons an apple is important as a symbolic ingredient here. So we're adding it here. It's probably was not really the same apple we're referring to today. Some people think it was quince actually, but we're not sure exactly which apple it was. I'm adding some ginger. Okay, cardamom and cinnamon. And pomegranate juice. Pomegranate is another of the ingredients that are mentioned in the Song of Songs. It's red, and I'm still using it. Okay, I'm just gonna add everything. So it's a very Persian combination of all these nuts and dried fruit. Okay. Let's take a look. It's a little longer. Now, the dates that I'm using here, unfortunately, are not as plump and juicy as regular majul dates. Use majul dates, and you know your charoset will be, first of all, tastier, and you know, smoother. It's worth investing in really good dates for the charoset. Okay. So this one is our Persian one. Here we go. This is the texture here. Once again, they look similar. Here are all our three. They do taste very different, and they're all delicious. Does anyone have any questions before we continue?
Shuli, can you show them the charoset a little bit longer? People would like to see them again.
Shuli, can you show the charoset a little bit longer?
Great.
Wonderful. Okay, come back to me. Our next charoset, we're going to, just for the interest, we're going to shape as truffles. They're more like dessert. I don't know if my mother is watching. She said she wants to watch. Then we have the elections. She's in Israel. I can't imagine she's watching, but this is a dessert that she used to make when I was growing up. And it actually, it's made only of dates and walnuts. And these are actually the two ingredients that make the Iraqi charoset. I'm going to show you, like, what I'm using today are dates. For the Iraqi charoset, people use date molasses, or it's known in Israel as date honey or silan. You may be familiar with that name. Here's one from an Israeli manufacturer. I'll just show you very quickly. So, you know, if you want to experiment with that, you can do that as well. It's like honey, but very dark. And actually, some people think that the original honey that is mentioned in the Bible was actually this date molasses. The Iraqi charoset is basically this. It's walnuts that are just chopped inside the date molasses. And here you go, that's Iraqi charoset, and it's wonderful. So, you know, you can also try this one. Okay, but for our dish today, I'm using pressed dates. Pressed dates are these, you know, dates. You can buy them at some kosher supermarkets, and at most Middle Eastern supermarkets. You can also buy them online. If you cannot get those, your recipe will tell you how to use regular majul dates. You soak them in water, and then you know, you process them in the food processor into a paste, and that's basically the same thing. It's just easier for me to buy it already like that, but you know, you definitely don't have to use it. Okay, so you chop some walnuts that I pre-toasted in the oven. Again, you have the instructions in the recipe. I'm gonna save some of the smaller walnut pieces here for decoration. And I have some of the dates here. I'm gonna add the walnuts to here. Let's move this. As I'm doing that, what I wanna do for a second is, let's go here for a second, Shirley. I have chocolate chips, vegan chocolate chips, on a bowl of, on a small saucepan with water, and I'm gonna melt the chocolate like in a bain-marie. You can also do it in the microwave, but you know, we're fancy here, so we're gonna do it like that. I'm gonna put gloves because I need to continue and cook after that. So, okay. And what you want to do is basically just mix these using your hands. So not very sophisticated, but really, really good. And it's really nice. I started doing these for every Passover Seder. And you know, מה נשתנה הלילה הזה is that we start with dessert. So that's always nice. You can do just that because these are dates and walnuts. As soon as I make them, shape them into little balls, they're already, I mean, they're very tasty just like that. Look at that. Just like that, they'll be tasty. But as with anything else, once you dip them in chocolate, they're even better. So we're gonna do a little bit of that. Shirley, can you mix the chocolate for a second just to make sure it melts? There's a fork right there. In the meantime, I'm rolling them, especially if you're going to dip them in chocolate, make the balls very small, like not more than 1 inch, maybe even a little less. And I have a baking sheet here that I lined with parchment paper. So it will not get stuck. The tray. Okay, this is enough for now. Here, how is the chocolate doing? Yes? Okay, so can you bring it here? Just I'm gonna bring the chocolate here. Ha. Okay. Thank you. So we have melted chocolate in here, and I'm gonna try to use I'll use a skewer and try to stay not too messy. Shirley, can you show this? Stick the skewer inside, dip it in the chocolate. Now, one of the tricks, if you don't want the chocolate to be so thick and so heavy, is to mix a little bit of oil into the chocolate. Just put in a little bit on top to cover the hole right there. If you mix it with, let's see, I'm gonna do it right now. Stay there. I'm adding like, you're supposed to add about 10% of the chocolate in oil. I'm adding olive oil, yes, because olive oil is good with everything. It's hot. It's hot. So now the chocolate will be thinner and definitely healthier. Okay, so on the chocolate balls that I cover, I top them with some of the chopped walnuts that I used earlier, that I saved earlier. Okay, let's do another one. Can use the spoon to help. Okay, this is a very heavy chocolate. Again, just put some of this on top. Now, if you want to, if you want the chocolate to be hard, quick, you just do it put it in the fridge for a little bit, and this will expedite the process. So, okay, put it here, but take it out of the fridge, you know, about an hour before you want to serve, so it gets to room temperature.
Vered, what kind of chocolate are you using?
So this one, I forgot the brand, but this one is a vegan chocolate. Okay.
Do you know what kind?
Okay, let me just show you this. Excuse me?
Do you know what kind of percent dark chocolate it is?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't remember.
So before
there are not that many options when it comes to vegan chocolate. You can actually get a bar of chocolate from the kosher stores you know, chocolate that's part of, especially for the Jewish holidays and for people who keep kosher and still want to finish a meat meal with chocolate. So there are actually many options, not many, but enough options in the kosher stores. But there are some vegan chocolate and chocolate chips that you can find in other stores.
Before we move on, because we're running out of time, and you have to do you have 3 other recipes. Someone just wanted to know in the Persian charoset, was the pomegranate juice sweetened or unsweetened?
Unsweetened.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not the end of the world if it is sweetened. I mean, it's not. Okay, so you're right. We do still have 3 more recipes. So I'm gonna rush a little more. I'm gonna start with this chemical weapon called chrain or horseradish root. And to do it ourselves, I'll peel it and I'll talk about it a little bit. Horseradish, if you never grated it yourself and you only ate the horseradish that you buy pre-prepared in the supermarkets, you never tried anything spicy in your life. And I'm not even saying this as a joke, because Israelis who are doing it, you know, grating it themselves at home, just peeling it, it's already so strong. They've been using their gas masks that they got in the First and Second Gulf War, and they were actually wearing them so they can do it without, you know, collapsing. I once grated chrain myself, and I thought, you know, how bad can it be? And I was trying just to sniff it, and my whole body jumped like 3 feet back because of just the smell. So be careful when you do it. I warn you, it's on tape. Be careful. Okay, so you peel it as much as you can, and we're going to grind it in a meat grinder. If you don't have a meat grinder, you can use the food processor, but it's not as good because it's going to be a paste. It's better to grate it on just a hand grater like you do with cheese. Again, wear whatever you can to make it work. So besides for that, we're going to make the red chrain. So I pre-cooked beets in water. We're going to use the beet water later. But for now, we're going to grind the horseradish with the cooked beets into the chrain that we all love. I'm cutting it into smaller pieces so it will be able to go through the grinder without too much hassle, hopefully, because sometimes it gets stuck. Okay, let's move to our grinder. This is my meat grinder, and look at that. I may have returned my gas mask already years ago, but we do have the coronavirus mask, and I'm going to use it. You may make fun of me, but I think it is better to do it this way. I hope so. Okay. I turn it on. I have a bowl here, so to get all the chrain. Try to do it without breathing too much. Okay. First try, let's do it again. This was not strong enough here. Can I get that? Okay, I need Okay, I hope now it's better. Okay. Oh, no, it's not better. This was my son. Okay. I'm a professional, as you can see. I'm sure it would never have happened to anyone else. Okay. Okay. You see the horseradish coming out. That's what we want. Shirley, do you feel the smell from where you're standing? No, you don't? Okay. I mean, for me, it's very strong even through my mask. I can feel it. Okay, at this point, I'm going to start adding the pre-cooked beets. Shirley, do you want to show the bowl actually? But be careful, don't stand too close. I'm not joking. I'll show this one. Oh my God. My brother-in-law in Israel was just using goggles, like swimming goggles, when he was grating it on a regular grinder. Okay. Oh. You feel it now? Oh, this is crazy. I'm adding more of the beets. You have to wear some kind of glasses, and you have to oh, okay. This is a disaster. And you have to wear your mask. I'm sorry, just a second. Oh, okay, I'm filled with juice. My eyes are dripping. All of this is for you. Okay, let's just stop this. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me show you what I have in here. We have the beets, and underneath it, we have the horseradish. Just a second. Okay, if it's okay, I'm gonna stay with my mask until I'm done here. I'm adding some vinegar. Shirley, can you show this? Just so you don't need to show my face. Dripping all over. So I'm adding some vinegar, sugar, and salt. Going to mix it. Okay, and now, you know how when you eat chrain, the same way with wasabi, exactly. It's spicy for a second, and it goes away in a second. The same goes for the dish itself. It's super spicy. I mean, my eyes are just dripping, and I'm crying here. But the spiciness goes away very quickly. What you have to do is to seal it in a container immediately. And if possible, you're gonna eat it the day that you made it. Because this way, I'm sorry, just a second. That's the way that's the way that it will stay the strongest. The first day that you had it. I'm seriously dying here. So,
Vered, we very much appreciate you making that for us. I think most of us will stick to the little jar we find in
no,
the
you listen. It's the tastiest one you've ever had in your life. There's nothing like it. So I encourage you.
So if you were able to make the full recipe that you sent to us, about how much does it make?
This is about a third of, no, about a half of the full recipe or so. Maybe a third, between a third and a half of the recipe. So not so bad. Oh my God, if I only had my gas mask with me, it would have been so useful right now. This is really, it's crazy.
What I want to tell those that are watching, if anybody does decide to make it, please email us and let us know what your experience was like afterwards. We'd love to share that.
Tell us what you use. Tell us what you use. Like if you have goggles, I think a combination of goggles and a coronavirus mask, you've got it.
Take a picture and send it to us. Thanks. On to the next one.
Okay, Jolie, come here. So as I mentioned, the beets were pre-cooked. Show us this thing. And this is the water from the beets. I peeled them before I cooked them, and I added. You have the quantity of water that you're adding to it to make sure it's concentrated enough. When the water, you remove the beets to use them for the horseradish dish, and you have some warm broth here that you add in sugar, some sugar and salt, and a little bit of lemon juice, and then you chill it in the fridge. I mean, it's tasty like that too, but you're gonna chill it in the fridge for a couple of hours, and that's what many Ashkenazi Jews would do before the Seder. They would make their own chrain, and if they survive it, they drink the borscht, the soup, right after. So come here. And I made some of it in advance. Oh, it's actually already here, right? I'm sorry. This was already chilled with lemon juice, water, and lemon juice, salt, and pepper. And you have now two options to make it. The first one, the classic one, pour it into a glass. And now you add egg yolk to it. Do people call it goggle moggle here? No, it's not a thing?
No.
Why do we call it goggle moggle in Israel? Okay, you drink. You add egg yolk to this, raw egg yolk. Whoops. And let's mix it. The broth is already cold, so it's not cooking it. And now we're gonna add some ice. Look at this beauty. Shirley, this one is for you. Shirley loves beets. And the other option, I hope you didn't hear Shirley, this looks so gross. The other option may be more conservative. You have some boiled potatoes that I'm sure everybody makes in one shape or the other for the Seder. You pour the cold borscht on top. You can grate some of the beets also if you have some leftovers. And you can add some sour cream on top and eat it like that. So this is like a classic snack. I heard it. I know my grandmother used to make it, and I heard from other families that they would eat the same thing on the morning before the Seder. So
a few
really
questions.
nice.
Yeah, a few questions
Yes.
and comments. So one is, I do remember my parents eating it, but it was always thicker, like it was more creamy. Is there?
You mean that they would eat borscht in general, or
Yeah,
they would eat?
The borscht was a
yeah.
little
So
thicker.
there, right, exactly. There are many recipes of borscht, and you know, people fight, and families don't talk to each other because of that. There are like vegetarian ones and ones with meat, and some come from Russia and some from Poland, and it's like there are many versions. This is the simplest one. It's basically just the water from cooking the beets. You don't usually even have the beets inside at all. I added a little bit, but you don't even have it. It's really just a light snack before the really heavy meal with 4 cups of wine or more. So it's just a snack that people
So
were using.
I want to let you know.
Yeah.
I want to let you know that quite a few people have written in saying that they have called the egg yolk I don't even know how you pronounce it, the googly moogly.
Goggle moggle. Oh, that's nice. So I wonder where, right?
Yeah, so quite a few people have said that. And a few other people talked about making their own horseradish as well. And some have said they have used actually canned beets. And someone wanted to know, did you have to cook the beets ahead of time before you put them in the grinder? Could you have used uncooked?
Oh, uncooked? I think it's okay. Okay, the traditional recipe definitely used the cooked beets. There's a salad that I make that I learned from my mother that uses non-cooked beets, so it's definitely a thing, and you can eat it, and it might be healthier, and the color gonna be nice. So yeah, you can definitely try it. But I think, yes.
No, go ahead.
I think it's gonna be tastier with cooked beets, but I never tried it with raw, and it's worth trying, I think.
And lastly, somebody wanted to know what was the significance of eating the beets before Passover?
The significance is using every drop of food you have in the kitchen, and you never throw anything out. And also, you're very busy before the Seder, and this is what you have, and this is what you eat. It's nothing more than that. But that's important enough.
And then real quickly, as you're starting this next recipe, a few people had asked, I don't know if you know the answer, that why the whole issue of not having flour, but matzah is made with flour. So why is that okay?
Of course, that's true. Right. So that's why I was trying to mention that you cannot let the dough rise. You cannot let the flour get wet and then rise. So you're allowed, for example, to make matzah at home. From the moment that any liquid touches the flour and until the dish is fully baked or cooked, there need to be only 17 minutes. So you make sure that the dough cannot rise. It's too short of a time for a dough to rise. So that's the rules, because of course matzah are made out of flour, as you mentioned. Of course, that's true. So people, you cannot make regular breads that need to rise or to be cooked for longer than the 17 minutes from the minute you mixed it. And that's why we have the simple dishes that we do. I have to show you something for a second. I already started the next dish that I'm going to explain about in a second. And these are pine nuts that I just toasted. Okay, and now I'm going to add some oil to the pan and onion, and I'm going to fry it for a couple of minutes. So the dish that I'm working on is from the Sephardi cuisine. It's a Passover dish called Mina. Mina is a family of casseroles, of pies or kugels from the Sephardi dish that are made with layers, or sometimes it's just wrapped with matza. I'm going to show you in a second how we do it. This mina is mina de carne, mina of meat. So I'm working now on the filling of the beef filling. So I started by toasting the pine nuts. I'm now going to saute the onion, and after that I'm going to add beef. I'm actually going to use today Beyond Beef. My husband is vegetarian, and I want to show you how easy it is to make it vegetarian. It has eggs, so it's not vegan, but it works with, of course, with beef. It can be even lamb, and it can just as well be with, vegan substitute to those. So let's let the onions saute for a while. In the meantime, let's move here, and I'm going to start preparing this. Can I have the oil spray, please? So I'm going to use a small pan for the mina, and I'll spray it with oil. Like that. And I have the other pan here. That's where I'm gonna have, I have warm broth in here. And the matzah that I'm going to soak in it and to layer in the pan where I'm going to cook it. I also have here some boiled potatoes that I made in advance, and we're gonna add some eggs, etc. Okay, let's go back to the onion. If you have questions, let me know. Okay, in general, you need to cook the onions for longer, but I don't want you to just wait for the full 8 minutes. So I'm going to add the meat in here, salt, black pepper, and nutmeg. And I'm going to add some cinnamon. Do I have cinnamon there? No, the other one.
Shuli, can you show us the pan?
Shuli, show us the pan, please. Okay, I'm going to use a potato masher to mash the meat. That's the quickest way to make sure that you don't have, any chunks of cooked meat, which is never, it's the wrong texture. This way it's easier to mix it all together and to make sure the beef, or the vegan beef in this case, is very crumbly in very small pieces. So in general, with real beef, you want to make sure that it changes the color from pink to grayish brown. I know it doesn't sound good, but that's how beef works. In this case, this is the Beyond Beef. It's not going to change the color, but so I know it's actually fully cooked at this point. Okay, we're gonna add the piñoles, the pine nuts inside.
Does the Beyond beef just generally have to be warmed up and that makes it cooked, or what else are you looking for?
No, yeah, just it warms up. I crumbled it completely. I cook it for a couple of minutes, and it's done. You know, the whole dish is going to go to the oven for an hour or 45 minutes, so it's gonna be fully cooked anyways. Okay, so I have the potatoes here. Wait a second, I'm going to bring. Okay, too much going on here. I'm gonna mash the potatoes. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's okay if you have some chunks of potatoes there. Just like that. And here, let me just ask Nathan for a second. Any news with the Israeli election?
Very fast, maybe closer.
Right, maybe closer to 60-60, Bibi and non-Bibi. That's how it works now. It's not even right or left anymore. Okay, I added the beef to the potatoes. I'm gonna mix it together. And to that, can I have a cup for a second? Thank you. I'm gonna break 2 eggs into the cup. Just because the meat is still hot, I don't want to put the eggs directly in the mixture so it will be cooked. If I beat them a little bit before, hopefully they will not cook when I mix them in. Okay, so this is our filling for the mina. I'm gonna put it on the side here. And now the building of the mina is happening. So I need about 8 matza. Start with this. I'm gonna dip 2 of them, and you wanna dip it long enough that they will be really soaked and tender. Otherwise, the whole dish comes out like very, very dry. So this is actually crucial. It seems so silly, but it's important to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna put it here. Shauli, can you show this as I'm doing it? I have 2 layers of matzah right here, and I'm gonna add 4 more matzah to the tray. Okay. Again, I wanna do that for a few minutes.
A few people have asked if the Beyond beef is kosher for Passover. I don't know if you know the answer.
I am not sure. That's a very good question.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure about the answer.
Yeah, people have to Google that. I couldn't find anything that said whether it was or not.
Right. I mean, it is kosher. It is kosher, but I don't know if they managed to do a kosher for Passover certification or if it is kosher for Passover. You know, the recipe, your recipe in the packet is calling for beef. So, you know, and if it's not Beyond beef, you can use any other vegan substitution. I hope there is one kosher for Passover. So look at what I'm doing here, Shauli. Can you show this? It looks ridiculous, I know. But we're building walls right here so we can wrap the filling later. So as much as you can, do it like that. I'm gonna put the filling inside. Okay.
Someone wanted to know, in the recipe, it says to have 2 beaten eggs in the mashed potatoes. Did you do that this time?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And
yeah.
someone wanted to know, if you wanted to make it vegan, could you use egg beaters?
For the filling, for sure, that will be fine. I'm not completely sure about it. Gonna see. Let me think about it for a second. For the filling, for sure, it's fine. Okay, I already put 2 more matza in the broth, and now look at that. We're going to fold the matza at the top, just like that. And I have another.
Have you ever made this with, say, minced chicken or turkey, or even with fish?
I don't think fish will work. It's going to be too, too dry. But chicken or any combination of chicken, turkey, beef will work. Definitely will work. Okay, so then we're going to put another matzah on top. I think this is enough. The pan that I'm using is a little smaller than what you have in the recipe, so I'm only going to use 7 matzah and not 8. Okay, so now to make sure it is moist and nice, I'm gonna break 3 more eggs here. This is for the topping. 1, 2, 3, and that's what I'm trying to think. If you're making it vegan and you don't want to use eggs, so for the filling, you don't even have to use anything. Like it's fine to just do the Beyond Meat with everything else. Without the eggs, it's going to be just fine. For the top, I think you can just use more. You'll see that I'm adding oil and broth into it, and maybe that's what you need to do. Just use more oil, just to make sure the matzah doesn't dry at the top, and it will be fine. And so I'm using a little bit of the broth that I used for the matzah. I'm using it here as well.
Someone was very resourceful and looked up the Beyond Burger and said it has the Beyond Meat and said it has peas in it. So it may be that the Beyond Meat would be if you follow Sephardi tradition, then
right.
you also eat kitzniot.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it will definitely not get the official approval. If you're Sephardi, then usually, there are not many American ingredients that are kosher for kitniot in the United States. Of course, there are many of them in Israel. Okay, so I think for the person who asked about the vegan option, add some of the egg substitute into a mixture of the broth and oil, and top it, and that should be fine. And this just goes to the oven just like that. And I'm sorry, but I don't have one that's ready to show you, but it looks really nice and brownish when you take it out of the oven. So, and it's nice to serve it throughout the week. It's like a weeknight dish for Passover. It's really nice. And that's it. We're done.
Thank you. Let's see.
Anyone has any questions? Yeah.
You're going to have a double feast, one tonight and one over the weekend.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And the Mina kugel that we just made, it comes out like there's a mina de queso with a cheese combination, like feta and kashkaval, which is a cheese from the Balkans. And no, it's not going to be kosher for Passover. And there's also a mina de spinacci with the spinach and feta. You know, all the regular dishes, all the regular fillings that people are using for burek, for example. It's just, this is a substitute with matzah, and it comes out really, really well. So that's it for our class.
Thank you. There's one last question. I knew it was going to come up. People are asking about your food processor. What brand is it? How big is it? I knew they were going to ask about
you
that.
asked me before the class. So this one is it's a KitchenAid. It's the large one. It's 14 cups, which is great. It does get stuck from time to time, as you maybe saw, that I had to push it with my hand when I was using it, which is really annoying. One of the reasons that I bought this one, besides for the size, is that it came with an attachment that lets you chop veggies as you would chop for an Israeli salad. So it doesn't just, if you put a tomato in a regular food processor, it will mash it very quickly. This one chop it into like real dice, real cubes. So that's why I wanted this one. It is really powerful and good. Yeah.
So great. Well, and on that note, first I want to thank your son, Shaoli, for being our cameraman today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.